if you must be committed to commercial real estate, you must understand this is an election you made to, pay your bills, sure, build your wealth, and lay a foundation for your future selves, kids and so forth. And you have to be committed to that. And that takes conviction. When you have that, you become a great broker. You just do. He will say, look, of all the sales traits you can have, and you just mentioned it, Justin, if you have conviction, if you truly believe that you can help someone and you have a service or a value and you can articulate it with passion, that's 90% of the game. 100%. It just is. Too much focus on your marketing, unless you build a team, you're missing out on asking for business and you're going to go broke.
Today's guest on the Prime People podcast is Rod Santomassimo. He is one of the smartest people in commercial real estate. He is training thousands of people at a national level and wrote one of the very first books I ever read called Brokers Who Dominate, which I'm actually buying for one of my agents currently because it really laid out my path in commercial real estate and how I was going to do it differently. He is a coach at a national level. He's a thought leader in so many spaces. And I actually got to see him speak very early on in my career. So I love having a full circle moment. Rod, welcome to the Prime People podcast.
Justin, thank you very much. I had to ask, where did you hear me speak?
It would have been with Royal Page Commercial back, I want to say, like 2012 or 2013.
It was a brutally cold day in Canada when I spoke at Royal Page. I won't forget that one anytime soon.
Yeah, no, they were great. I mean, I started my career at Royal Page Commercial. We ended up building Prime as a very different type of brokerage than anything else in the industry, partly because of the talk that you gave back then. But I think one of my favorite things about you, Rod, is that you are constantly evolving, constantly driving, constantly growing. We're going to talk about your implementation of AI. I want to get your thoughts on the landscape of commercial real estate, how you even think about social media and thought leadership. But at the very, very beginning, what I want to know more than anything at the start of the show is what are some key behaviors and habits that set top producing commercial real estate agents apart from everybody else?
Well, you should know those 8 habits and traits because you read the book Brokers Who Dominate, right? Where we said there were 8 key habits to brokers. And that book was written now, cheese and crackers, 14 years ago. And those traits, dominate was an acronym, right? To be very disciplined, oriented to the client, market intent specific, right? They had industry specialty. They navigate their careers. They were very assertive. They had teams and they were entrepreneur. And they had market presence. That was a market presence I missed out on. So those elements are true, but I'll tell you just now, as the years go by, and all those are still true. You still need all those elements I just discussed. Again, being very disciplined. Discipline is easy to say. It's just not easy to do. And that's a fact, right? So yes, having the discipline, yes, the total focus on the client. It's a long-term game brokerage. It's not a short-term gain. And that's where we lose a lot of brokers, realizing it takes a long time to get the second commission, let alone the first commission. So they have to be specialists. Now, in some markets, you might, in fact, be a generalist. That's okay based on the size of your market. You got to get known. We talked about that a little bit. Social media, market presence. It really. I just hung up with Steven Siegel, who is the chairman of global brokerage for CBRE. Actually, in my first book, Brokers Who Dominate, we had a chat about something else today, and that guy has navigated a career like no other. Chairman, and just that's what you have to do. It's still teams today. I will tell you, Justin, having a team. When I wrote the second book, Teams Built to Dominate, if I rewrote that book today, that was in 2016, it'd be a completely different book because now teams can be not only outsourced, Philippines, Mexico, India, right?
Sure.
Now teams can be AI agents. So it's
100%.
It's a different element. But all that. But Justin, I know it's a long-winded answer, but I will share this with you. If you must be committed to commercial real estate, you must understand this is an election you made to, pay your bills, sure, build your wealth, and lay a foundation for your future selves, kids and so forth. And you have to be committed to that. And that takes conviction. When you have that, you become a great broker. You just do.
I love it. A large segment of my audience, they're residential brokers, they're entrepreneurs in different spaces. I think everything you just spoke about speaks to all of them because if you're a specialist, right, what do you sell and where do you sell it? Then you look at your daily habits. What does your calendar look like? And I just had 2 meetings with my leadership team. And we were just discussing the basics. I'm like, dude, I still learn every day. I still prospect every day. And I'm still working on my business, like the actual building of it. And then I got to tell the world what I do, because even at the level that we're at, I still got to go out there and earn it. Half these people are so busy in their own lives. They don't know what I'm doing. So I said, whatever stage of career you're in, you have to do the exact same. And I love that you touched on all of those things. Man, I would love to hear version 2 of Teams Who Dominate, because that's where we're at, right? Like, I own a brokerage in London, Ontario, technically, but we're not a brokerage. We're more of a teamridge than we are a brokerage, where everybody that's here, they work on our team, and we have residential, commercial, investments, agriculture. My background was commercial when I started. We do a ton in the commercial space, but we'll sell the farmer's field that's going to get developed into residential homes. Then we'll do an industrial building in the same area because we know it's growing. How can I be a successful team leader and pour into my people and give the specialists the support they need in today's environment?
Yeah, first and foremost, I think the number one thing that everyone is challenged with is hiring the right people, right? Yeah, that's the number one issue of all. You got to hire based on skills and not based on title. I get coached. I get coached. If I'm going to be coaching, I have to get coached. And that's the thing my coach really drills in me as we start to rethink our future at Massimo. Where are we hiring? Who are we hiring for? But that's one of the big things. We at Massimo, we do assessment. Talk about this in Teams Built to Dominate. We assess every person for their natural behaviors. We never, ever, Justin, never hire on gut. It's a huge, yeah, my wife can do it. Maybe your wife can do it, but I can't do it. I just can't. So as you're crafting your team, the hiring is the most essential element. Then, of course, once you hire them, you set expectations, 30, 60, 90-day plans.
Sure.
If they're not on target, then they'll never be on target. So let them go. So that's how you start building your team.
Yeah, I'm too much like you. I like people, right? And I say yes to everybody, and I think I can fix everybody. And yeah, we'll just get them in the system and we'll take care of them. But one of the meetings I had today with the leadership team was sometimes, when you set the standards and the expectations, if you don't hold the accountable to it, then everybody thinks that, well, there's just no accountability. So there are no standards, right? Which is a very, very scary place to be.
Absolutely true. Absolutely true. So yeah, I love people too. I do. I love to, and I'm a people pleaser. My natural behaviors say that. But I've come to learn that what's holding me back, if everything's holding us back at Massimo, it's my loyalty versus my leadership. And that's okay for me, but that could be a problem in hiring.
Well, you hire somebody to hold you accountable to make sure that they're the in-between person. I said this happened recently with me. I say yes to too many events and I overcommit myself, and I put somebody between me and the event planning. I'm like, here's our 365 outlook. I'll greenlight something with you, like to get you on the show. I would have done anything, right? Like, I really do respect what you do for the industry. I'm not just pumping your tires. Like, I see what you do on Twitter. I see how much you pour into people. So I'll do whatever to make this happen. But there's other times where we get requests for shows and I'll yellow light it. And I'm like, no, it's not in, I want to do it. And I would say yes, but the person that's in between me and that person now is the person who gets to say no in a nice, empathetic way. And you can do that with teams, right?
Oh, 100%. And Justin, there is no greater, more powerful word than the word no. It's incredible. One of my longest term clients is a gentleman named Bob Knackle. Bob happens to have sold.
I have his card right there signed. Yeah, so Bob's a friend.
You know Bob. So Bob has sold more buildings in New York than anyone else in the history of New York. And he's been a client of mine. And he's only, of our hundreds and hundreds of coaching clients, he's the only guy I personally coach. Everyone else takes care of our 35 coaches. But when I first met Bob, Justin, true story, he was grossing around $6 million. And Justin, this was 13 years ago. And so when I went to fly to see him, I actually said to myself, what the hell am I doing? I cannot help this guy. I can't. He's making $6 million, right? But like you just said, when I sat down for 2 days and just watched him, I realized he never says no. Never. And so one of the first things he did was, Bob, every week you report to me 3 no's every week. He's like, I can't do that. Like, you got to do it. By the way, by the 4th year, Bob was making $18 million.
Wow. So, just buying his time back, right?
Getting his time back. And then we worked on certain things, obviously, beyond that. But that's the number one thing. Say no. It's a great thing to say.
Yeah, I love that mindset. I was supposed to see Bob actually in New York. He was speaking, I think, at CREI. I was with Sirhan, and that's in the cards for the next trip. So what's up, Bob? If you're watching the podcast, really appreciate all you pour into the industry as well.
It's such a small world. Sirhan sold Bob's apartment
Yeah.
So it's just a small world.
And I dropped a bug in Ryan's ear back in like 2018 about the focus diversification. He was asking me about my model, and we became friends over the years. And I'm like, dude, I'm in a city of 400,000 people. I'm like, you have 400,000 people in that building in New York. I was like, I have to go focus diversification because there's only so many deals, right? And then I was like, why aren't you doing commercial real estate? And I remember mentioning Bob's name to him a couple of years ago, and it is a very small world. I mean, there's so many people's names, people that have been on this show, like Carrie Bob, and there's so many incredible. Beth Azor was on the show. She poured into Roger and those people, like so many people in the commercial real estate industry that are super connected. I guess that touches on another point I wanted to ask you, because commercial real estate is so cryptic. A lot of the agents on there, they think social media is a joke. You don't need to do it. They don't see the power in it or the value in it. I'm quite the opposite. We have a national reach because of social media. I'm getting taught by amazing people like you and Bob and Carrie and Beth and so many other amazing people. What is the landscape of commercial real estate and the new age of media mean to Rod? And what are you thinking about when it comes to social media and marketing?
Yeah, look, we have a formula for our clients when they first join us, and the second formula after they grow to high 6-7 figures. But the first formula is, look, in this order: let's craft your value proposition. Let's work on your presence. Let's work on your prospecting. Value prop, who are you? How do you serve them? Who's your client? All that good stuff. Then your presence, right? Personal, physical, digital. Get your presence established, and then let's start prospecting. And it's that order, because prospecting without presence is really tough. Who the hell are you? I have no idea who you. Never heard of you. No value from you. So social media, as far as a presence play, is one way to create the trust and create the value when you're prospecting. I fear, Justin, sometimes people think that social media is the only way to create trust and value, and therefore they're more focused on their followers than on their pipeline. And we know that if you create too much focus on your marketing, unless you build a team, you're missing out on asking for business, and you're going to go broke. And that's a fact. And I love CREI. I Ken's fantastic. But when we look at the landscape of social media, yes, it's essential. Get someone else to do it. Not you. Get someone else to do it, and you focus on asking for business.
Yeah, I would say document what you're doing and then have somebody, actually process it and help you with the posting. And I'd say pick one platform and be your voice on that platform. Twitter for me was always that, where I just post ideas there and then I create content off the ideas. And I wrote an article I'll send you. I'd love for your feedback on it. And I got a little bit of trouble with Ryan's CEO at the time, who's a friend. I say that jokingly. And it was called Kill the Celebrity Real Estate Agent. And I said, like, I'm part of the problem out there because I built a large following. And if you looked at me optically, I speak and I do all the things. But I said it's so far gone from what I care about, because what I care about is being a craftsman. Do I know the market? Can people trust me? And when I actually post things, is the phone ringing? And what I found out was my follower count and my view count were not directly correlated to the deals. The deals I was getting are like some of my lowest performing videos, but they were watched 14 times by the prospect.
Yes.
And that you got to get away from the vanity metrics. So I love that you actually touched on all of that.
Yeah, and Justin, that you hit it nail on the head. Look, and if you're going to go out there and be on social media, then leverage it correctly. I see some brokers, they talk the world of investors and tenants and landlords, and that's fantastic. I see other brokers who talk about the art of brokerage. Well, that's, if you want more brokers to follow you, that's fine, but they're not paying your bills.
For sure, that's so true.
Speak to your audience, and you'll have better luck. You just will. And yes, I do. I think you and I both think the celebrity broker is something that just doesn't translate to really the marketplace.
I just dawned on me, I actually referenced Bob in that article and Ryan, Glenda Baker, as like actual practitioners. Because ultimately, if I ask Bob a question, he knows what that building sold for. He knows why they paid for it. He probably knows the conditions, or, the agent, was it a good agent that sold it or a bad agent? Could it have sold for more? And that's why people are really looking for real estate agents these days. I do think it's going back to the age of the craftsman. And you'll find that depth in people's content. Something I've struggled with, though, Rod, to be quite frank with you, is because I own the brokerage and I'm an agent in production, it's my messaging on platforms like LinkedIn or X, or where I'm a bit of a scattergun and I have a hard time doing that focus. What would you tell somebody like myself?
Yeah, I actually invested in a day with Gary Vaynerchuk, and you must know what Gary V is. He is Gary V. And me and about 10 people from across the globe sat down with Gary, and we just talked about social media and marketing and presence and brand. And I had the same question: do I build my personal brand? Do I build my company brand?
Mhm.
And the question what he answered, and it did work, was, do you have the resources to build both? And fortunately, I do. So he said, build both. And it worked out really well. We built both, right? So I could step away from Massimo. Massimo still has a brand, but I'm building my own brand for whatever reason, right? So so Justin, yeah, you can do both. You just got to take the resources and the team to do it.
Yeah, I love that mindset too. And I love that you set the expectations, right? Because you even said it earlier on in this podcast. I'd love to hire Rod to coach me. He coaches one person. You got the Massimo Group, you got the Massimo Group systems. That's what you're paying for. You're paying for the knowledge and the systems. If Rod tried to coach everybody, it'd probably not result in a good execution because you'd be saying yes to everybody. And it's back to the original problem. And I guess at what point in your career did that breakthrough happen where you realized that it was becoming bigger than you and you need to systemize it?
Oh, that was probably in the second year of Massimo when I had 20 or 30 individual clients, and I was working, literally working 16, 18 hours a day,
Wow.
not seeing and sleeping 6, and trying to have lunch with my wife or dinner with my wife and kids. That's when I knew I'm in trouble. I can't do this anymore. It was nice, but it means I wasn't charging enough, right? Because I shouldn't have had too many clients. I wasn't charging enough. Brokers listen very hard. You're not charging enough, brokers. You're not. Okay. And number 2, I needed more relief. So I we hired 3 coaches. Always hire more than one. Always hired three brokers. Don't hire one broker. Hire 3. And then look, now today, 16 years later, we have 36 coaches across North America. So yeah. So, and look, what's great, Justin, is the last commercial real estate transaction that I brokered was probably in 1997. Seriously, right? I'm really good at building businesses. That's my unique value prop, I guess. Or then someone say my unique, whatever it is, value. But that's why my brokers can talk the talk and walk the walk, and they do it all. That's what we want.
And then how do you maintain your brand integrity? Like, how do you make sure that they're executing to your standards? And so curious about what the back end there looks like.
So Justin, now, once you get the first P factor, right? Value prop, presence, prospecting. If any broker does those 3 things well, we call it the P factor, those 3 Ps, then it comes to a P cubed. The math doesn't work. I get it. But it means you have more presentations, more pitches, and a lot more production. That's what it means. But now that first will get you to consistently high 6 figures, mid 6 figures. That if you do that right, you'll get mid 6 figures in a commercial real estate, right? But you just asked how we now get to the next level. So once you start making high 6, 7 figures, and unfortunately, knock on wood, multiple 7 figures at Massimo, you have to have a second level of an equation, and that's called the operational P factor. And that becomes your platform first. You got to have a platform. Some of you have CRMs, great. Yeah. Some of these different things, but it's your platform. Stick to that. That's how we communicate in this platform. The second P is processes. And that's what we do. We have Massimo University. We have Coach Academy. We have monthly training with all our coaches. We have weekly check-ins with many of our coaches, a director of coaching. So that's standards there. We record calls. I know brokers don't like doing this, but if you're a managing broker and you're not recording calls, you're missing the boat.
Oh, 100%.
You are. So we record calls. We see what's going on. And then after that, so that's the platform, the process, and then only then we have to nail those. Then we hire people, because we never hire people ever unless you have the processes established and the platform to help them with. Because then they'll be asking the same questions again and again, wasting your time. You won't have standards. So that's how we do it at Massimo, and that's how we've implemented with our clients that are making multiple 7 figures. And it seems to work.
I love that so much, and I think implementing that, you can do that in so many different ways. If you just keep it simple, I think people tend to overcomplicate things. I'll give you a tip that I heard this morning. Not sure if you guys are doing this yet, but on the role playing side of things, when you're trying to get better at your skills, one of my agents was just doing this morning, shared it with the team. He uses AI. So he prompts AI as he's driving his car. He uses the voice upgrade with the paid version, and he'll role play with AI on his way to the office every day. So I'm going to get him to record those sessions, because I think that would make great content for his clients to see what a killer he is, but also for himself, like just to be recording those calls and see the inflections and the way that you speak and little adjustments you can make. It's like being in a jiu-jitsu academy trying to get better at a triangle or an armbar. You do it every day. You put in the reps. Eventually, a black belt is just a white belt that never gave up, right?
There you go. But let's talk about jiu-jitsu. And I love what you said. So yes, we have role play bots for both our clients in our platform. They have role play bots.
Wow.
In fact, we just enhanced it this month. We're delivering it at our conference next month. So we have role play. But for our sales guys, what I did was I said, okay, and all brokers should do this, right? Let me know your four, and I know what they are, but let's say, give me your four. So Justin, give me your four greatest objections you get all the time. What are they? Make it simple.
The price is too high. Your commission's too expensive. I got to talk to my wife, or I'm just not ready to make a move right now.
Okay, I agree with you completely. Right, those for residential, that'd be true. For coaching, it's very similar, right? It's too expensive. I'm too busy. I gotta give someone the authority, right? That's always a terrible one, right? It's not the right fit, right? That's the four we get. So if you know the four objectives, if you know your four objectives, you always get back to jujitsu. So Justin, I gather you practice jujitsu. Is that correct?
Yes. Yep. Correct.
So are you deflecting or are you attacking the whole time?
Well, what I'm trying to do, so when I was a white belt, I was just trying to survive, and then was a blue belt, I could survive. Now that I'm a purple belt, I'm typically trying to plan reactions. So like this move happens and I'm trying to stay 2 steps ahead, because then I know he does that, then I do this, and I end up in this position.
And there you go. And that's perfect, Justin. That's exactly it. You know the objection's coming. You know it's coming, and you should know. Everyone on this call, you should know the objection's coming, and you should be able to deflect and handle it and react to it to give them, yeah, but, or, and this, right? Whatever it's going to be. So we did, talking about AI again, Justin, we uploaded our playbook, our sales playbook. We have a playbook. Everyone should have a playbook, obviously, right? Into chat, but we made a chat bot called the objection deflection bot, right? The objection deflection bot. So when our guys are on the call, and guys and girls, excuse me, when our team's on the call, that's a New York term I got used to. when they're call with their prospects and they say, yeah, but it's too expensive. They hit the button, comes to 10 things you have to say right there. Now they should know this by heart, frankly, but if they don't, news people. So you can automate everything now with AI to say, okay, just say this, say that.
Yeah, and it is that simple, because I mean, people, they put so much pressure on themselves, and ultimately sales comes down to confidence, right? Confidence and knowledge. And execution of when they come at me with that question. Sometimes I'll pull the objection out of them. I'll sense that I know that price matters to you and you're concerned about my commission. So I'll bring it out of you and then show you a data point or a case study of, well, great, you can save 1% here. So let's say $15,000. But in this instance, if this guy went with discount, he would have left 160 on the table because we sold this for that. Now what, right? And I think not being afraid of the conflict or the push and pull that happens in this business is key, right?
Are you do you listen to Alex Hormozi by chance?
I listen to everybody. Yes, I listen to Alex as well. Correct.
So Alex would say, and I'm a big fan of his business logic. I believe in business logic, less emotion to help lead a cause or team. But he will say, look, of all the sales traits you can have, and you just mentioned it, Justin, if you have conviction, if you truly believe that you can help someone, and you have a service or a value and you can articulate it with passion, that's 90% of the game. 100%. It just is. You'll be right. If you don't have the confidence, it's a struggle. It just is.
You can get the confidence through practice, though, and getting around other people. And like, that's the key, right? Of what you've probably learned over 4,200 plus people you've trained. And I guess a question I was going to ask you around that, of all of those people you've ever trained, what do you see is the biggest mistake you see agents making over and over and over?
Yeah, well, first, I'll go correction there. We don't train, we coach. Okay. Training is information, coaching is implementation. And to the implementation, you get the transformation. It sounds corny, but it's true. No, so we don't train. So I will say this. I had a call with some of our top clients on Monday, and so do you know what crazy thing happened this weekend by any chance?
I can't even keep up with the news. There's lots of crazy things happening every week.
A guy named Elon Musk, who took this 250-pound payload rocket, put up to space, came back down and landed on a dime and caught it, right?
Wild. Yeah, it's crazy.
Wild. Now, look, at my age, 61, we were freaking out when a lunar module with a parachute could end up in the ocean. Like, oh my God, that's amazing, right? So I asked the clients back, this is getting to your question, what's your vision What's your vision for your ultimate success a year from now, right? Most brokers can't permit themselves to imagine what's possible. They just can't. I don't know why. It doesn't make sense to me because I'm wired that way, but they just cannot allow themselves to say, I can achieve this. Because again, I just got the phone with Steven and he said, Rob, what I love about brokers more than anything else. And this guy's a global chairman of CBRE for residential folks. It's the biggest firm on the planet, right? And he said, you can make as much money as you want. There's no ceiling. There's no limit in real estate. There isn't. But you have to give yourself permission to say, I can achieve this. And of course, set the plan and then do it. But first, you got to. So, Justin, your question, what holds them back? The lack of vision. Absolutely.
Yeah, I like that a lot. And I think we try every year. I used to do business planning in December. Then I realized the time of year was terrible. To do that, we moved it back to November. Now we actually start in October.
Yes.
We do a big all hands on deck meeting in November. The expectation is you have your prime planner done November 15th. So you have a clear roadmap for 2025. Because in my world, the business I'm doing today is stuff I started on 120 days ago, 90 days ago. Like if I'm expecting to just close a deal today, I'm going to be out of luck and I'm going to be unemployed, right?
It's not going to happen.
No, not at all. And I think how do you train accountability as well? I guess that's the other question I have, because we're not built to hold people's hands. We have the systems, we have the processes. I do want to see a little bit of initiative in people and let people self-select if they're not built for this ecosystem, because I'm sure there's other places for them. Where do you draw the line, I guess, between the accountability piece and providing them that support and guidance?
Well, before anyone comes on board with us to be coached, there's two things they have to fill out. First is their why statement. Why do you want to be coached? What are you trying to achieve? Back to the Simon Sinek, why? Give us why, and go deep. Don't give me the bullshit. I'll make more money. Let's go deep. So they have to create that. And we work with that and figure, okay, this is what we're trying to achieve. Again, vision. Okay. The second thing they must sign is a contract of accountability. They will do these following things and they have to do them. And we will do this in return. And once they do that, we know they will get results. And frankly, we offer a guarantee on our coaching. And at 16 years, one person has come back to me and said it didn't work. In 16 years, one person, and that person quit brokerage 2 months later. So, but the problem is they don't do the work. But how do we hold accountable? We hold accountable by them having to do a scorecard. Keeping a score is very important. People don't like doing it, but you have to. I'm sorry. Scorecard tracking, pipeline tracking, meeting regularly with your coach, consistently reporting, updating. And for those you're right, not everyone does it. And for those that don't do the work, who don't do the accountability, they ultimately don't see the results that they were hoping to get. So it's kind of self-regulated. If you don't do the work, you're not going to get the results.
Yeah. One of my favorite comments I ever heard was, if I could only judge you by your calendar and your bank account, what story would that actually tell me? Not what you think you're doing with your time, but what you're actually doing with your time and money, right?
I love that. People ask me all over the country, where I travel everywhere, Rod, what's the one thing I could do to make more money? What's the one thing? And Justin, to your credit, the first thing I say is, let me see your calendar. Like, what does that do? Like, it has everything to do with it. So you're right. Let me see your calendar. Let me see your bank account.
I guess one curiosity I have, because I'm actually running a private call, is I think 140 people on it right now. It started with 5, just talking about how I time block and brain dump, right? Like I'm just map out my front load my year. I'll give you the roadmap and then I want your opinion on how you guys execute. Roadmap I look at is faith, family, fitness, fun, finances. My heart's right with God. I'm in a better place to serve my wife and daughter. If they're happy, I can work out, not worried that, she's upset at me. If I could work out, I'm in better shape to go fly fishing, go watch the race, do whatever I want to do. And if I got very little time to actually do the work, I find so many people in our world make excuses for themselves. I'm bringing home the bacon. I'm staying late. I'm like, you're on the golf course with like 4 of your buddies. Like, you just don't want to go home. And your wife's angry at you because you're not home. And they're miserable because they put work at the top and they don't take care of any of that self-fulfillment. How much does that come into the coaching aspect of like creating incredible people? Do you have to look at things beyond just you as a commercial real estate broker? Are you digging into them personally? Like, what does that look like for you guys?
Oh, there's no doubt, Justin, that our coaching sessions, sometimes when I listen to the coaching sessions, I say to myself, well, that was therapy. It just is. Look, and he wouldn't mind me sharing. Just, are there days that the best broker in the history of New York has a mind block? Yeah, right. There is. So are there days those coaching calls are less on tactics and more on mindset? Absolutely,
Yeah.
100%. So yeah, but yeah, mindset is paramount, and this is why I immerse myself. And for those who don't, I don't get it. And in fact, I had a long talk with my son this morning. He's going to grad school online. I immerse myself with positivity and positive books and positive podcasts, and that gives me the mindset I need to go, hey, everything's good. Regardless of what happens, everything is good. And it is. And to me, it is, at least. So yeah, mindset's a major factor, Justin, on how we propel people and move forward.
Yeah, I feel like I'm the eternal optimist as well. You and I would get along very well. Something terrible happens. I'm like, oh, every time that happened to me before, I grew immensely.
Yeah.
So I always put my head down and run. But I guess, how do you deal personally, or even as an organization, with difficult offboardings or relationships that didn't work out, and so on and so forth?
And Hermosi talks about this too. The other thing that holds a lot of us back is making the really hard decisions. I gotta let somebody go. Nice person. I gotta let them go. That's a hard decision. I gotta stop working with that client because they're a pain in the ass. They pay me a lot of money, but they're a pain in the ass. That's a hard decision. It is. You got to make the hard decision. Just take it from a logical standpoint. Again, I work on a logic less. And I used to be very emotional. My team would tell you that. I used to be so emotional. And then
the Italian in you, that's why, right?
The Italian in me. The other half of me is Puerto Rican. So, now I'm really emotional. But I just realized that all is good. Regardless of what happens, all is good. Now, I'm fortunate. I worked my ass off, and therefore I'm financially fine. So nothing can really hit me that hard, except for the health of my family, obviously. Sure. So that's it. It's a mindset of, it's logical. We make decisions based on what's best for the family, best for me. And that's how it works.
I guess the offboardings and the decisions that you've made on terminations probably came down to like misalignment in terms of not being on the same page of your core vision or where you were going and what mattered to you. Would that be more or less correct?
Those are times when I hired based on gut or based on hope. This is going to be great. This is a great personality, versus really analyzing the skill and the natural behaviors. We assess everyone on natural behavior. We use a tool called the AVA. And we could tell, even with clients. Matter of fact, this is funny, Justin. Whenever a client complains, look, we have thousands of clients. Clients are going to complain once in a while.
For sure.
Yeah. Before one of us picks up the phone, we look at their file on their natural behavior and go, oh, this is why they're behaving. But here's the really cool thing now. Now what we can do is, Justin, you mentioned AI. We have a private portal, so we can do this. I wouldn't suggest on a public portal. We have a private AI portal. So we can take their natural behavior assessment, put it in AI, tell them the situation, and then I say, here are 5 things you should focus on when you talk to them. And it's usually pretty damn good.
Yeah, it's interesting because I do think AI is allowing us to become more human, right? It's doing some of that background work that we all intuitively have done, learning clients, having the data of thousands of transactions, whatever it may be. That's our unique value proposition. But AI and the future of real estate brokerage, to me, talked to my team members about it today. I was like, I think we're going to be able to do 10 times as much with half the team, given some of the tools that we're looking to implement. And it's coming at a rapid speed. How does a broker stay relevant with technology changing so quickly in the marketplace?
I read an interview this morning from the CEO of Navita, and he said he believes there'll be 100 million agents in the next few years, AI agents, right? So we'll all have agents. We'll have thousands of agents to our arsenal on our desktop that will do the mundane tasks, whatever it is, scheduling, calling, getting appointments scheduled, all that stuff. And what he shared, and I don't know if I totally agree, that's not going to you said half the people. He doesn't see people going half the people. He says that we'll all become more productive and therefore do bigger things and move the company, become more profitable. I see that happening. Stop working on the mundane, work on the higher value things, and let's get more profitable. Now, if the people don't have the skill to do that, obviously you got to find different people. You do. So yeah, I see it impacting real estate in a very completely comprehensive way, but it's still going to be a human practice. It's not going to be AI. It's not.
I think it's going to carve out the lowest common denominator personally, right? Like I think there's a lot of agents that are just getting by on opening a door and getting a paycheck without actually any knowledge. one of my agricultural agents. He's a grass-fed beef farmer, cash crop advisor. He's been in ag his whole life. Like his knowledge of soil types, and it's so in depth. And yes, AI has the ability of pulling soil types, but there's something about him seeing a property, walking it, feeling it, understanding the nature of what clients want, that if I equip him with technology to pull the comps and make his data set concise and just hand it to him, then I've probably saved him 2.5 hours worth of work. His real value is the interpretation of that data. And I think that's where the difference is going to be.
And then in that data set, you put in all his findings and thoughts and evaluation packages in the past, and they learn what he likes to do. And say, okay, this is how I would suggest it. So now he's got his own mini me working with him too.
Yeah, it's pretty wild because he's a legit cowboy, and I'm like, he's not good at paperwork, he's not good at this. Let's systemize something and make it easier for him to do his job. And then when he compiles his thoughts, send it to me, and I'll do the storytelling, I'll do the listing video, and then we'll amplify it with what we're doing at Prime.
I love it. I love it.
Exciting future that we're going into. As a professional speaker, author, somebody that obviously runs multiple companies, how do you regulate your schedule and travel, doing things like your event, maybe speak to your event next week? And how selective are you in kind of your speaking engagements and where you show up?
Is it fun? Your factors first, right? Is it fun? Is it fun for me to do this now? Is this fun, right? Is it going to, if it's fun, it's going to be the return that I seek, right? I do seek a return on my time. I get a lot of questions for free. I generally don't do free things except for podcasts with you and great people, of course.
I appreciate you. Thank you.
But no, is it going to return my time, and is it going to help me grow? That's the big. If it's not going to help me grow, I just don't want to do it. I refuse to do it. I do. So that's how I look at my time, fun, fee, and growth. Hey, if it means going to speech somewhere in the world, and I can bring my bride and we can go have a good time, great. Let's do it. Right? Great. Maybe even reduce the fee, but I'm not doing it for free. But I'll do that. Right? Absolutely.
Yeah, no, I love that actually. And I think there's always a balance of there's earned relationships. And like I said earlier, there's people that can call me to do stuff because the good faith has been there for 10 years, right? And vice versa. I think you can make those selections on time, but I think you also have to be very thoughtful about your time deployment, because I think there's a lot of real estate agents, speakers that are chasing the celebrity or chasing the speaker status or the author or coaching status without understanding what that actually is, right? So I like that you're providing some clarity on that.
Yeah, I mean, look. There's one Bob Knackel. There's one Ryan Sahant. There just is, right? There's one Barbara Corcoran. That's great. They've proven they can do that model. Doesn't mean you can. It just doesn't.
And it doesn't mean you'll be happy doing it. Like I got to spend.
No, I don't mean you. I don't mean you.
No, that's what I'm saying. I'm talking to the audience, and I'm like, a light bulb went off. That's why I was so excited. I thought about that when I was with Ryan Serhant. Like, there's a lot of people that think they want his life. And like, I was behind the scenes with them working very closely. I've known him for a long time. Like, I don't want his celebrity because it's not my ambitions to do what he's doing. Like, I'm going to learn from him, and we'll be in collaboration with his ecosystem, and we will continue to be so. But I'm building something very different. Yeah. It's taken a lot of time and effort for me to try and figure out what that is. And same thing with you and the people that you coach. Everybody's so incredibly unique. I think it's just finding, what are you passionate about, and what can you do in your daily life to afford you the ability to do more of that thing, right?
And do you have the support system to let you do that as well, right?
Yeah.
So Ryan's wife and Bob's wife and your wife and my wife, they understand what it is and they support it. That's great, right? But you need that support system to get to those goals. It's really important.
For sure. And there's always the time, skill, and money factor, right? In the beginning, you and I probably had a lot of time, didn't have spouses, didn't have any money. So we showed up everywhere, did everything for free. Eventually you have enough skill, which you can trade for money. And then you really got to decide, are you buying back your time or skill with that money, right?
Absolutely.
Dude, I appreciate you so much. I mean, I'm going to go back and reread Brokers Who Dominate. I'm going to reread the team one as well. I just bought one for Roger Horvath. Fun fact, he's a helicopter pilot, commercial real estate expert. He does all the retail stuff here at Prime. So I'll connect him with you as well. A couple more rapid fire questions, and I'll get you out of here because I know you got a busy day. So what are you excited about that you're working on? I know you're 80%, your bread and butter, you're black belt at that. What are you maybe a blue belt in that you'd like to become a black belt at?
Wow, that's a great question. So right now, my total focus is on our conference coming up in 4 weeks, Massimo Con. It's gonna be phenomenal.
Where is it?
It's in Dallas in a sports arena. It's unlike anything you've ever seen.
Wow. Okay.
It's going to be phenomenal. But so that's really my focus right now. But I always thought when I was get done in this point, I just retire and play lacrosse game the rest of my life. I was a lacrosse player since I was 18. By the way, Justin, if you don't know, lacrosse is the national sport of Canada. Okay. But because of some concussions, I can't do
How
that.
It's not ice hockey, I don't know. But anyways, I digress.
Okay, there you go. I agree. But because of some recent concussions, I can't become a black belt in that anymore.
For sure. Yeah.
So my next thing, I might just continue my love of coaching and combine coaching with lacrosse and invest my time helping kids learn the game. That might be it.
Well, dude, I'm in the same boat. So I have a ceramic left hip. My competing or hardcore training days are over.
Yeah.
But I still want to be involved in the community. So maybe it's coaching along those lines.
Yep.
The last question, most important question I ask all my guests is, how has failure shaped your life?
Oh, the very first advertisement, this is a true story. People say bullshit. This is a true story. The very first advertisement I did at Massimo Group, right? Going out into 1,000 people, big deal for me back then, right? And I wrote, hire the Massimo Group and your business will soar. Now, Justin, I wrote soar, S-O-U-R. So, and that went to 1,000 people. Of course, that says hire the Massimo Group and your business will sour.
Oh, no. Bad choice of words.
Bad choice of one letter. One letter can really change the whole message. But it's a true story. I did that. And my father, may he rest in peace, he called me and said, hey, Rocket was my name.
Rocket.
Hey, Rocket, you may want to change that ad, because he got the email. I'm like, I can't bring back. What the hell did I do? And I was like, oh, my God. And that's just one of so many failures in the 16 years of Massimo. So many. But the one thing that I will always do is take risks. Always. Because I learn and I grow. And people say, how can you bounce back from this mistake or that mistake? Or one time we lost probably $50,000 on not doing a certain thing we should have done. And that day we lost it. I was like, okay, let's not do that again. Right. But you just learn it, because as you got to accept the fact, 100%. If you're in commercial real estate, you're a survivor and it's all gonna be okay. It is. And I learned that way. So I take failure and I love to fail, because it just tells me what I don't know. And I don't know what I don't know. I don't. So let's figure it out.
Every time I ask that question, I mean, I light up at the guests' responses, because most of the people on the show are people I respect who've done something, and they're eternal students, and they're humble, and they put their ego aside, and they look at the value and the education opportunity and every failure. And if you're not failing, you're not trying at the end of the day. Right. So Rod, I appreciate you so much. Everybody go buy all his books on Amazon right now. If you're looking for education and being part of a fun event, check out Massimo Con as well. Highly encourage you to connect with him on X as well. He's one of the foremost thought leaders on that platform. And I'm really, really looking forward to the day when I can connect with you in person, Rod. So I appreciate you.
I'm looking forward to it too, buddy.
Okay, good luck next week. Bye.
Bye-bye.